Welcome back to Sports Hop. You already know what time it is. It's the one and only, your player partner, your boy Mack B. I'm in the building. I got my man Solomon in the building. We got another hot show for you today. So many things to talk about, right? In so little time. So let me dive right in. And to top it off, I'm going to talk about the Colorado Buffaloes. College football is upon us. The NFL is back. I'm heavily excited, as you can see. Shout out to Deion Sanders, really charismatic guy. I met him years ago when he was working with the NFL Network. He's an outstanding leader, a motivator, got a bunch of swag, right? Dripping in swag. I love it. So 21-point underdog going into TCU, knocking off the Horned Frogs. Them boys ain't hopping anymore, are they? Came in there, heavily doubted. And just, assembled a roster through the transfer portal. I mean, it was just amazing what he was able to do, right? I mean, everybody slept on him. I never counted him out, to be honest with you. Did I think they'd go into TCU and win the game? Honestly, no. Did I think they'd cover those 21 points? All day long. I should have put my money where my mouth was, but that's another story for another day, right? So, Colorado is now officially 1-0 in the Pac-12. A loaded conference, by the way. You got Utah, you got USC, you got Oregon State. You've got some heavy hitters, but don't sleep on the Buffaloes. I love what he's doing up there in Boulder. I love what he did at Jackson State, quite frankly, before he even got the offer to go to Colorado and lead the Buffaloes. So, Deion Sanders, charismatic guy, a lot of swag, a lot of personality. I believe, definitely, I never doubted him, but I love the story. Sports is all about moments. It's all about stories, right? And we're seeing the beginning of a journey, right? In Boulder, rolling through those Colorado mountains, right? So I love what's happening. And speaking of what's happening, Deion Sanders is what's happening. My man is the truth. 510 yards passing in his first game for Colorado, breaking all kinds of records. He's poised in the pocket. I mean, he can move with his legs. He can read the defense. He throws a great deep ball, right? So I love what Deion Sanders was doing, and his light is shining bright. A lot of people sleep on these HBCU players, these programs. I got news for you. Historically, black college has been around for hundreds of years, produced a lot of great athletes, many of them who have been overlooked in the past. That's changing now, and Deion is basically spearheading that movement and being part of that game-changing movement. So Deion Sanders is a future NFL star, in my opinion, if he stays healthy. But first and foremost, he's got business to handle with the Colorado Buffaloes. But he's got a bright future. And speaking of bright, he's going to get the bag, right? So leading the country right now in terms of NIL, he is now valued at over $3.5 million for NIL revenue. We got Mercedes-Benz. We got Gatorade interested. We got Beats by Dre. He's an ambassador for them. The Tom Brady brand. I mean, Tom Brady texted my man after the game and said, don't be content. This is just the beginning, just some words of wisdom. So I love what he's doing in Colorado. Obviously, his dad, the fearsome leader of Deion. I mean, who isn't going to be good coming out of that bloodline, right? I also got to pivot to my man, Travis Hunter. I mean, Travis Hunter is just a beast, a two-way player, a generational talent. We haven't seen anything like this in quite some time, okay? Deion was the last one to really do this and put it on the map. But Travis Hunter is ballin' with a capital B, right? So playing about 140 to 150 snaps a game on both sides of the football. Had an interception, a huge interception in the last game against TCU when they thought they were going in to score. Huge momentum change for Colorado. He also caught a lot of key passes on the offensive side of the ball. He comes up big. He was the #1 recruit in the country, and Deion got him. And Travis Hunter is definitely making some things happen. So I think between Hunter and Deion Sanders, they're going to be in the running for the Heisman. If they keep balling like this, they're going to be in the mix, and I love to see that, especially coming out of Colorado because it's been a long time coming. I can't sleep on my man either, Mr. Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is balling as well. he initially was committed to Notre Dame, right? You know, one of the top recruits in the country. He's only 160 pounds, but he can run. I mean, he's a Flash Gordon on the field. My man has wheels. So he actually changed his mind. He was going to go and be part of the Fighting Irish. He was going to go to Notre Dame. But then the influence of Mr. Deion, Coach Prime, with the swag, with the drip, right? So he got in his ear. He came and paid a visit up in Boulder, and it was a wrap. It was a wrap. It was all the way official. So that Colorado roster is loaded. They got a lot of talent. I'm really excited in terms of the direction that they're going. There are some key concerns as well. Special teams, they got to clean that up. They got to work on the defense against the run. They gave up over 270 yards to TCU on the ground. But the Buffaloes are definitely a team to be reckoned with, not just now in the moment, but in the future. Because as these players get recruited, if you got Deion Sanders coming to the crib, right, and he's pulling up, dripping in swag, pulling up to the front door, warming up to the parents, warming up to the athlete, that's really hard to overcome in my book. You know, you either gonna roll with Deion, Coach Prime, or are you going over here with this guy? That's an easy answer for me. So that's what it is. It is what it is, and I love what he's doing. Shout out to the Buffaloes. They've got a huge game with Nebraska coming up. I like them to win that game. The line is -3. I think Colorado covers that. It's going to be an emotional atmosphere up in Boulder. Man, I wish I could come. But Prime, I am pulling up this year. I'm coming to see you, dog, and we're going to catch up. Now, moving on, we're going to shift gears to the NFL. Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions kicked off the season. It was a Thursday night matchup. I honestly did not become surprised in the outcome because there was no Travis Kelce. There was no Chris Jones on the edges to put pressure on Jared Goff. So am I surprised that Kansas City took the L? I'm not surprised. Keep in mind, it's early, right? This is not an AFC conference game. This is not even a game within the division. So all my Kansas City maniacs out there, pump the brakes. Cálmate, relájate, no te preocupes, right? Throwing some Spanish lingo in there for y'all. So just relax. It's going to be all right, okay? Because Kansas City has a long season ahead. They got to stay healthy. But you can clearly see without Kelce in the lineup, it's not the same offense. And Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, he did Mahomes-like things. He nearly brought them back and almost won it in the end. But at the end of the day, I can't front. Dan Campbell, the coach of the Lions, he's the leader. He's rejuvenated that franchise. I love what he's doing in Detroit. The Lions are a force to be reckoned with. I think they're going to win that division, by the way. I'm not really confident. Green Bay, still some unanswered questions. Minnesota, I can't trust Kirk Cousins, especially in big moments, and the Bears are the Bears. Shout out to Justin Fields, though. I think he's going to have a bounce-back year and play better. But I think the Lions are going to seize hold of that division, and I think they're going to make it happen. I do like what I'm seeing from Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie. He had 7 carries. He had 42 yards the other night. He played a good game. And Jared Goff, I can't front, right? Because when he was with the Rams, particularly after that Super Bowl where they took the L to the Patriots in Atlanta, one of the most boring Super Bowls ever, Jared Goff has turned things around. He definitely has a lot of promise. He's poised in the pocket. He's zipping the ball to his receivers. He's reading defenses. He's doing what he needs to do. He's minimizing his mistakes. He's not the same quarterback on the road as he is at home, but he did his thing in Kansas City, and he played a lot of good football. I like what Jared Goff is doing. I like his maturation process. So shout out to Jared Goff. I slept on you, dog, but you definitely are out there balling. I love what you're doing, man, and shout out to Detroit as a franchise. They're making moves. They're back to life, and all the fans out there, I know the Lions fans are like, man, it's about time. It's been a long time coming out here. So I love what they're doing in Detroit. Shout out to the Lions in that franchise. Best of luck moving forward. I'm not surprised if they make a playoff run. Speaking of playoff runs, which has been lacking in the Mile High City, I'm going to pivot to my Denver Broncos. and Sean Payton. So Denver's in a really transitional period right now. They brought in Sean Payton, to execute some leadership, shake things up in the organization, which he already has done, and hopefully bring Russell Wilson back to life because he didn't have a pulse last year, right? He was making a lot of mistakes, a lot of chatter off the field and things that were said. Personally, I've always liked Russell Wilson as a player. I liked him as a person off the field. I've interviewed him several times. He's a good guy. He's got a beautiful wife, a beautiful family. Shout out to Sierra and his family and his kids. So I'm certainly pulling for you, Russ, to turn things around. Sean Payton hit home this week with a heavy message, indicating, hey, you're not running for political office. Stop kissing all the babies, man. If anything, change a diaper before you kiss a baby. Change a diaper, man. But don't even do that right now. He's like, he wants you focused on football. Football and football only, as it should be. You came in with hefty expectations. You signed the biggest contract in the history of the franchise, came over from Seattle, and you saw what happened when you left Seattle in the Pacific Northwest and Pete Carroll, who definitely proved how great of a coach he is with Geno Smith under the helm. I mean, Seattle was a playoff team last year. Geno balled out. He got a new contract. That team seems revitalized since Russell has departed. So you see what Seattle's doing. You see what you weren't doing in Denver. So that's motivation in itself, Russ. We got to turn things around. Denver's got a dominant defense, but I am worried about the offensive line, and the receiving core is all banged up. Cortland Sutton is the only really healthy face out there. Judy's still fighting, a hamstring injury. He's improving. He'll be back soon. So I am concerned with two key elements for Denver. Offensive line, I'm very concerned with that in terms of protecting Russ. I'm also concerned with the injury factor when it comes to the receiver core. So it remains to be seen. The AFC West, to me, this year, I think is a little bit more wide open than it's been in the past, right? Because Kansas City's dominated the last 7 years. They've won the division, right? And they're an outstanding team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win it again. But I think it's going to be a little bit different this year. It's a toss-up, right? You got the Los Angeles Chargers and my main man who I work with, Justin Herbert. Shout out to him, because anytime he's on the field, you got a chance to win the football game. Despite the fact I'm not a big fan of Brandon Staley and some of them questionable decisions, 4th down on your own 20-yard line. But, hopefully he'll learn from his mistakes. But Justin Herbert is a baller. Austin Eckler is a baller. Defensively, they've added some key pieces in LA on the defensive side of the ball. So the Chargers are always in games. They're one of those teams, right? You rarely see them get blown out. You rarely see LA get embarrassed. They're usually in a lot of games, okay? Particularly last year, they got embarrassed when they was up 27-0 and lost the game to the Jaguars in the playoffs. But you got to give Jacksonville some credit as well. And my man Trevor Lawrence, he balled out in the second half. But nonetheless, we got the Chargers. We got the Broncos, who I just discussed. And we can't forget about the Raiders, the Piratas, the Raiders, man. Shout out to Garoppolo. He's in Vegas now, new environment, Sin City. I mean, Jimmy has been known to sin in his lifetime. But nonetheless, 72% winning percentage. When he's on the field and he's healthy, Garoppolo can ball out. So I'm not a Jimmy hater. I love what Jimmy can do when he's healthy because he's a winner. He's proven it in San Francisco and a little bit of a stint with New England. So Jimmy Garoppolo can play. He can straight ball. The issue with him is, can we keep him on the field? Can he stay healthy? Because you've got Garoppolo. Okay, you've got my man Josh Jacobs, who recently came to a deal with the Raiders. I love him. I think he's the best running back in the league. I think the Raiders are going to surprise a few people. Last year, I believe they only won 6 games. I think the Raiders are going to hit about 9 or 10 wins. I think they're going to prove some people wrong. Defensively, they've got some key pieces, and I think they've got a team that can be reckoned with in the West. I think they're going to surprise a few people. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they're going to be a much improved team. Now, moving on from the AFC West, we're going to talk about the AFC East, and we're going to focus on the New York Jets, right? So obviously everybody knows The lights are shining brightest on the Jets because they got Aaron Rodgers in from Green Bay. A lot of lofty expectations in New York and the Big Apple. That's where I'm from. I know what time it is with that media market. I know what time it is with the fans. And they deserve a winning team. They deserve a team that's going to be competing not just for a playoff spot, but for a world championship. The question is, two things. Can Aaron Rodgers stay healthy? Number one, he had that injured thumb most of last season. He still balled out, but his interception ratio was higher than it's been in quite some time. And can the Jets coexist? Can the chemistry start to happen right away? Because just because you throw in all these key elements, Randall Cobb, and you've got Garrett Wilson, who was outstanding last year. You've added, a lot of key pieces in the offseason, but can it still work from a chemistry factor? In my opinion, they got one of the toughest schedules in the league the first 5 to 6 weeks of the season. They got to play Denver. They got to play New England. They got to play Kansas City. That is a loaded schedule for the Jets early on. A lot of teams defensively are dominant. Dallas has a dominant defense. Denver has a dominant defense. New England's got a solid defense. Can the Jets overcome? And they got to play Buffalo in week 1. So I honestly believe that the Jets are under the most pressure in the league. Head coach Robert Saleh, in the past when he was with the Niners, he's known more of a defensive-minded coach. Obviously, offensively, the Jets is where they struggled last year, is on the offensive side of the football. And they still won 7 games. But the Jets are under the most pressure in the league. Robert Saleh's under the most pressure in the league in terms of a coach. Him and Sean Payton, pretty much neck and neck in my opinion. But can the Jets come out of the AFC East or come out of the AFC period? I mean, you got Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. You got a Cleveland team with Deshaun Watson. You've got Kansas City. You got Herbert in LA with the Chargers. You got Miami down there. You can't sleep on Tua if he can stay healthy. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that remain to be answered. We will see what happens. I think the Jets, honestly, are going to win about 10 games. I think they're going to go 10-7. Is that going to be good enough to get in the dance? Are they going to be able to get in that dance and do their thing? That remains to be seen. I don't know. We shall see, though. We definitely will find out. But shout out to Aaron Rodgers. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. Definitely an interesting guy. And we're going to see what happens in New York. But they got a lot of pressure. They got a lot of heavy expectations on their back. We're going to see how it plays out. I think that Buffalo is going to rebound. I think they're motivated. I think Buffalo wins that division. I think Miami sneaks in as a wild card. And I think the two people that are left out, the two teams that are left out, are the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. But it's early. We're going to see what happens. We're going to sit back and relax and let the NFL season play out as it will and see what time it is. And speaking of the time, shout out to my man Jay-Z, because on this day, he dropped the Blueprint 3, His 11th studio album at that time. Shout out to Jigga, one of the most creative artists of all time, one of the dopest entertainers. I mean, my man's got Rock Nation Sports. He's got Jay-Z. He's got his music. He's got Beyonce. I mean, what more could you ask for, right? He's definitely been doing his thing for years. Thank you for motivating me and motivating people worldwide, not only as a music icon, but in sports management and doing what you're doing. So definitely want to holler at you and give you a big shout out. It's your boy Mack B. I'm in the building. You're watching Sports Hop. Solomon's in the building. Don't you go nowhere. Keep it locked. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. Subscribe here for all the latest news on hip hop and sports. It's your boy Mack B.